Here we are on lesson 4. Bubble number 1 starts off talking about parameters. This is where you've already learned how to create rectangles and ellipses. The first two numbers are their XY coordinates. And remember, if you take your mouse pointer, hover above the toolbox, it'll actually give you a little hint right here. And if you really need help, you can click on examples, open up a separate window with additional help for that particular tool. So, for example, here I'm going to click run and I can see my rectangle on the left is the blue one. It's larger than my red one. But if I look at my directions, remember, sometimes I need to stretch out my directions. It wants me to make it so that the rectangle on the right, the red one, is the larger. So that's where I'm looking at my script here. And my second two parameters, my first two is XY coordinates, but my second two is the width and the height. And you can see the W and the H there giving you that example. So right now I want that red rectangle to be 100 pixels wide, but I want it to be taller. So instead of 150, I'm going to make it taller than the 200 that the blue is. So I'm going to make it 250. Click enter and then reset and go. And you can see now I've duplicated this option over here. Then move on to my next bubble. This bubble has you work with an ellipsis. So it wants you to create a second ellipse behind this green one. So we're going to go ahead and put that above this because we want it to be drawn first because we want it to be behind it. We're going to leave that as orange. So I'm just going to type in orange. And we're going to do another ellipse. And we want it to be at the same XY coordinate, 200, 200. And then I'm going to adjust the width and the height so I get an oval. So I'm going to let you work with that and then move on to the next bubble after you've got that. This puzzle introduces a new tool called background, and you can see simply it makes my background yellow. So investigate your script over here, and it wants you to change it to orange. And again, here on Bubble 4, we're working with background. It wants you to add background, and keep in mind the order of your script. If you want your background behind the green circle, think about where you want that within this. Do you want it before the circle or after the circle is drawn? Go ahead and type that in and add that code and move on to the next bubble. For bubble 5 here, you are given a partially done drawing, and the only thing you need to do is extend this grass further to the right. Gives you a hint here that there's only one parameter number that you need to change to make this wider. So you're going to look at these various different scripts here and see which one draws the grass. You can see with the comment here, it's obviously here. And then I'm going to let you figure out which parameter you need to change to make this rectangle wider. Within Bubble 6, you have 3 following challenges. The first one has you go in and reveal the picture underneath the red circle. If you click run here, you can see the red is covering everything. And the hint I can give you for this is it has to do with what order things are being drawn. And for bubble number 6, letter B, if you click run here, you can see that a white square is basically filling up this entire space. You need to take a look at these scripts and figure out what is causing this not to appear. So I can give you a hint on this. It has to do with the XY coordinates, seeing where those are being drawn. For example, the X coordinate of 500, if you look on this grid, let's show the grid. Where is 500? 500's not even on the screen. So take a look at these first scripts. There's not a whole ton you need to change in this, but really each one of these rectangles has some of its positioning incorrect. So take a look at that. That's the hint I can give you for this one. And then for letter C, you are going to add some additional scenes to this one and just be creative with that one. Then move on to bubble number 7. Bubble 7 is your assessment. It wants you to go through here. It looks a little funky right now. If I take a look at my cloud, there's something wrong with that one. So you just need to take a look at your code here, debug the cloud so that it is going horizontally instead of vertically, just like the picture over here. Once you have this drawn, depending on what your turn in is, I would do a screenshot of this and turn this particular assessment in on Google Classroom. And then you can move on to bubble number 8. And bubble 8 has several different challenges here, 5 different challenges. I can give you a hint about each one. This first one has you draw different polygons with the number of sides. Take a look at the parameters within a polygon, basically just changing the number of sides. When you are looking at letter B here, the hint I can give you for that one is you are going to be creating this green triangle. When you create a triangle, all you're doing is putting in the 3 XY coordinates for the 3 corners of the triangle to create a complete shape. For letter C, this one looks pretty complicated, but really, if you just take a look at the X coordinate and the Y coordinate for a particular line, we'll go ahead and go into this one because it's probably one of the more complicated ones. The XY coordinates, for example, 0, 0. So the XY coordinate is 0, 0, top left corner. And then the second set for a line is 50, 400, which means that it is all the way down here. So you're really putting the very starting position and the very ending position for each line. Now, if you want to create something like this over here on the right side, really, I would just use this as your example, and then you're recreating this, but instead of starting at 0, 0, and then going to 5,400, you're going to start at 0, 0 and go to 450. So you're really switching around the XY coordinates for the starting position and ending position for your different lines. So that's where you're going to add 8 more lines of code to create this over here. And then for the final several on bubble 8, you've got a new arc. It shows you how to do an arc within there. And then letter E, this is optional. This is where you can just free draw. If you are ahead on our schedule, go ahead and do letter E. If you are behind, you can go ahead and skip that one because that is just a free draw. That will finish up lesson 4.